Thank you very much. And for the internet audience, I just want you guys to know that over in the corner is a vending machine, but there are no candy bars in it. It is full of ammunition. I love it when I walk into a venue and I know I'm among friends. But there is one group that could give you a run for your money. Last time I spoke at the Cocoa Beach Tea Party group, they had their meeting in a chocolate factory. Well, history favors the bold, my friends, but nobody remembers the timid. So which category do conservative Americans fit into today? We all like to think of ourselves as the bold, but I'm not so sure about that. We the people need to rise up a whole lot more than what we have been doing. How do dictators rise to power? Well, quite often it is by eliminating free elections. Did you see the Fox News report today or yesterday about how 15 states are introducing legislation to keep Trump off the 2020 ballot unless he releases his tax returns? 15 Democrat-controlled states are essentially saying that they will not allow their citizens to vote for Donald Trump. They are trampling on the rights of citizens to vote for the candidate of their choice. And that's exactly the kind of tyranny that our forefathers fought against in the Revolutionary War. Someone once said recently that Donald Trump's #1 opponent in 2020 will be voter fraud. So why do they want the president's tax returns? It's because they want more fodder for more Mueller-style garbage accusations against our president. Well, America's had enough of Democrat garbage politics, and I'm here today to inspire you to come out swinging against the nastiest, most dishonest pack of weasels in American history. How fortunate we are to stand here in support of the greatest president of our lifetime, who brought with him the finest first lady we have ever had in this country. It is so good to have a first lady that we can be proud of. I will never forget Melania Trump's first speech. Do you remember what she did? Yeah. She led this country in the Lord's Prayer. And when she did that, she fired an artillery shell straight into the hearts of the enemies of freedom. Not only did the First Lady hit them with that which is most important to her, she hit them with the thing that they hate and fear the most, and that is the traditional Christian heritage of the USA. Now, I'm not here to tell you how bad things are, because that's one thing that conservatives are really good at, is telling each other how bad things are. What I want to do today is hammer home some ideas on what needs to be done to defeat the enemies of freedom and to put an end to their nasty campaign to bring down everything good that this nation stands for. There are millions of solid conservative men and women out there who are ready to fight for this country, but they need some direction. And frankly, conservatives need a battle plan. Well, we have strategy. We have plans to knock on doors and get more conservatives elected. And all over this country, conservative Americans are holding monthly meetings, almost always behind closed doors, where the only people who hear the message are already patriotic Americans. That needs to change. We have the solutions to the nation's problems. We have the message of hope for the future, and we should be bringing in tens of thousands of new patriotic Americans every month. And what I don't see as I travel around this country are conservatives who are willing to get out there and go toe-to-toe, face-to-face with the bad guys, to face them down wherever they are. While we're having our private meetings, the bad guys are out there and they are infiltrating our schools, they are taking over media sites, they're filing lawsuits to silence and punish anyone who will not bow down to their agendas. And they are engaged in a nationwide campaign to bully us into silence. And as long as we remain behind closed doors, they're going to outmaneuver us and win. Now, some of the things that I think we need to do to defeat the left is, number one, we need to be highly visible to the American public. And I salute those MAGA hats out there. The American people need to see us standing strong every day, everywhere they go. Now, part of my mission is serving with the Faith Riders Motorcycle Ministry in Daytona Beach. Now, the Faith Rider patch has the Cross of Christ dead center, an American flag, and the eagle. When the Faith Riders go around town, people see that and they know who we are and what we stand for. So you keep wearing those MAGA hats. Those visible symbols of American patriotism really trigger the left, and that's something we should be doing much more often. Symbolism is important. Symbols of America's God and country heritage are so important that the enemies of freedom are working hard to tear them down everywhere they can. They're tearing down the Ten Commandments monuments, tearing down statues of our national heroes, statues that inspire American greatness. So let us not neglect the importance of symbols in this fight for freedom. You guys keep wearing those red hats, I'll keep wearing the Faith Rider patch, and we will be faithful to our mission as American patriots. Now, one of the greatest victories of the left has been to paint us as racists and bigots. How many of you have been called racist simply because you love the USA? Lots of hands up there, Internet. They paint us as being mentally ill with some kind of make-believe phobia. And until we come out from behind closed doors and get out there to meet the public face to face, that will be the only image many of them have of patriotic Americans. We will never get a fair shake from the media. They will never portray us in a favorable light. That means the only way that we can defeat the media narrative is for us to make an end run around the media and actually get out there and meet the American people ourselves. Now, as I spoke at Tea Party groups all over the country for years, I did my best to get them to do what I called community bashes, where the entire city is invited to City Park to enjoy good food, good music, dancing in the streets. Now there's a new one for conservatives. And to hear inspirational speakers, where the entire city could hear our message. And they could meet us and they would learn that we are the kind of people that they want their kids to be around. But sadly, most conservatives that I've met are too intimidated to go public. They ask questions like, well, what if Antifa shows up? And somebody always says, well, what if the city won't give us a permit? Have you ever noticed that there are some people out there who always have a problem for every solution? Well, as for the first one, the left will show up. They are so used to intimidating us easily that that'll be the first thing they try. So let's have them do it on our terms, and the sooner it gets started, the sooner it'll be over. Want backup? Somebody's cheering. You guys want backup when you go out to face on the bad guys? Well, there are thousands of military veterans and patriotic bikers out there who are ready, willing, and able to go face to face with Antifa. You want them to rally to your cause, then give them an opportunity to face those people down. And you will see patriots come streaming in for miles around. Now, they're not going to come to these closed-door meetings. This is not something that interests them. But give them a chance for some action, and patriotic men and women will be coming from all directions. And as for that permit thing, Well, the Supreme Court has ruled that American citizens do not have to ask permission prior to exercising their constitutional rights. And a permit is nothing but a permission slip from the government. In fact, the Supreme Court has ruled that we don't even have to tell them we're coming. We can just show up anywhere we want to. Quite often that permit thing is used as a bully tool to silence patriotic Americans. Public streets, parks, and sidewalks are always free speech forums. And I say the patriotic God and country freedom message should be blasted loud and clear in every city park in every city all across this country. Let the liberal bullies know that freedom of speech is alive and well in America, and that the liberal claptrap is not the only message for the American people. And while we're at it, the American people need to hear us speak out loud and clear on the hot button issues of our time. We need to come out swinging at the biggest bullies in America. The biggest, meanest bullies in America are, number one, the militant homosexuals. Number two, Islam, the most violent false religion in the world. They have slaughtered over 250 million people, and they are in the process of overrunning Europe as we speak. And big bully number three, the left intend to bury us under a mountain of fake, manufactured racism. Everything we do or say in defense of the USA results in us being called racist, and I'm sick of it. It's time to take that race card and ram it right back down their throats.
Yes. Yes.
Now, one of the most successful tactics of the left has been to create an environment where American people are afraid to speak up. Political correctness is nothing but the dismantling of free speech. Well, I say no more retreating, no more apologizing, no more trying to appease the unappeasable. It's time for American patriots to spend a little less time wagging our tails and a little more time showing our fangs. Now, there's a book out there called The 48 Laws of Power. And it's a fascinating historical study on how people have risen to power throughout the centuries. And one of the 48 laws of power is this: say what people are thinking and they will flock to you. We the people need to come out swinging against the bullies of the left. The American people need to hear courageous voices declaring that homosexuality is wrong, that Islam is evil, and that we the people will no longer put up with the fake racism of the left. These things are sweeping across America like a broken sewer pipe. And millions of Americans are deeply concerned about these things, but they're afraid to voice their opinion. Those people need to see that it's okay to speak out. If we speak with courage, other Americans will find their courage as well. Make no mistake about it, folks. We are locked in the Super Bowl of all battles for the heart and soul of America. And if we're going to be victorious, then we need to remember who we are as Americans and what this great nation represents to the people of the world. We're much more than just a wealthy nation. The United States stands as a supreme symbol of hope for countless millions of people around the globe who live in poverty and hopelessness. Whenever disaster strikes anywhere in the world, people are homeless, hungry, injured, frightened. You'll often hear them say, "Hold on, the Americans will be coming." And often the first sound of rescue is American military helicopters filled with food and medical supplies and security forces to keep the robbers at bay. The bad guys are always out there. A few years ago, an Australian man wrote a letter to the editor in which he said that before he dies, he wants to kill an American. And the editor of that paper fired right back. He posted, "Okay, so you want to kill an American? Just wait until the next natural disaster strikes and then shoot the first person you see coming to help. chances are you will have killed an American. That's who we are as a nation. We are the first to help, and we can take great pride in that. The United States of America is a good country, and that's because we were founded upon the highest principles, the highest ideals. And the enemies of freedom want to tear us away from those founding principles. And what are those founding principles of the USA? Very simply, God and country. Faith in God and reverence for His Word, and patriotic zeal for a good nation that would be a symbol of freedom and justice to the whole world. If the liberal left can destroy those two things, America will fall. And believe me, they are hard at work to destroy the God and country foundations of this nation. How many of you are familiar with the song, God Bless America, Land That I Love? That song was recorded 89 years ago by Kate Smith. And it was so loved by the American people that we have been singing it for generations. Well, last week, the New York Yankees decided they would no longer play that song at their stadium. And the statue of Kate Smith was torn down. Really? They say that it was because 89 years ago, Kate Smith recorded a song in which she referred to black people as darkies. Do the enemies of freedom actually believe that a woman who has been dead for over 30 years is a threat to black Americans because she once uttered a word that is unapproved by the liberal left of today? No, that's not what they're doing. They just want that song gone. They do not want that song sung because it inspires faith in God, so they come up with a fake racism scheme to justify eliminating that song from American culture. And that's what we're battling, folks, the dismantling of American heritage. Our founding fathers saw it coming, and that's why they gave us the Bill of Rights. The First and Second Amendments are the battleground where American freedom will live or die. Now, the First Amendment lists 5 basic rights. First and foremost, at the top of the list, freedom of religion. And when the Founding Fathers said religion, there is no question that they were speaking about the Christian faith. America was established especially to be a place where Christians fleeing religious persecution in Europe could live out their Christian faith without fear of persecution. Our laws were built upon biblical principles. Public schools were established for the express purpose of teaching the young people to read so they could read the Bible for themselves. Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, often regarded as the least religious of the Founding Fathers, insisted that the Bible be the #1 primary textbook in all schools. Why? Because they knew that those principles were the best way to give those kids a good start in life. And that raises an interesting question. If the men who wrote the United States Constitution insisted on those things, how can they possibly be unconstitutional? For the first 230 years of this nation's history, our society revolved around Christian principles. Even the worst scoundrels knew the 10 Commandments. And one of the most common questions was, is this the Christian thing to do? Or, I don't think that'd be the Christian thing to do. But way back in the 60s, when the liberal left launched their war on American values, remember what the first thing was that they went after? Prayer and the Bible in school. They absolutely demolished moral standards and training in America, and look where we are today. Every major problem that this nation is facing can be traced to walking away from this nation's traditional Christian heritage. And now it's nothing short of a miracle that we have a president who respects this nation's heritage and who boldly defends that heritage, something we've not seen from the White House in a long time. The election of Donald Trump is, without question, the greatest thing to happen to American freedom in 50 years. And we dare not waste these few years where we will have Trump in the White House. Having a president who believes passionately in America is a gift from God, and we dare not squander this time that we have been given. It's time to rally the troops now to push back hard against the agendas of the left. Now, the second item in the First Amendment is freedom of speech. The enemies of freedom intend to silence us any way they can. Now, we've already talked about intimidation. There's a huge problem with the internet, censorship. Millions of patriotic, conservative Americans have had their Facebook accounts suspended, some of them permanently banned, not because they used profanity or because they were threatening violence, but because they put out a pro-America, pro-Christian message. The internet has become the public square of America today. Now, President Trump is speaking out on this, and he may well take action. I hope he does, because this is a serious threat to our ability to get our message out. Now, I've been doing my Wild Bill for America videos for about 10 years now. I don't know how many I got. I got over 1,000 of them, 17 million views, and got friends all over the world because of it. Get yourself a camera, put your message on the internet. But about, probably 4 years ago, Google and Facebook decided they were going to go back and demonetize all of my videos. I used to pay the bills by, the little banner ads that would run at the bottom of the videos. I'd get about a nickel every time somebody clicked one, and I was doing okay. Paid the bills, kept me well fed. But man, I tell you, Google about put me out of business simply because they do not like a pro-America message. But I would not give up. I stood in there, and things are better now. And as Americans, as patriotic Americans, we need to stop aiming for the head. We need to start aiming for the heart. The reason I say that is I met up with David Horowitz in Orlando a couple years ago, and he had a long talk with me. And he explained that as conservatives, we tend to think with our brains, the way people are supposed to. We tend to make our decisions based on facts and evidence. But that is not how the left operates. They cannot win people over their side with facts and evidence, because facts and evidence shows their policies to be just foolish and filthy. No one with a lick of common sense would ever vote Democrat. But sadly, Americans no longer vote according to their brains. They vote according to their emotions. They vote for whatever makes them feel good. So while conservatives are out there talking about the finer points of constitutional law and statistics, the liberals couch their message in terms of puppy dogs and starving children. Whatever gets an emotional rush from the voters. And the Democrats have been kicking our hind ends for years by appealing to the emotions of the American people. The Democrats have portrayed themselves as the champions of women and children. And frankly, we need to take that away from them. We need to learn to speak the language that triggers the heartfelt emotions of the voters. Some of my best friends in the Patriot movement want to lecture people on constitutional law as the way to defeat liberalism in America. God bless them, I love them, but you know what? People don't want to be lectured to. They want to be entertained. And that is the key to victory in politics today. I'm sorry to say, but that's just a fact. The left, unless we master the art of capturing the American heart, the left will continue to win elections. Democrats don't protect anybody. They claim to be for the children, but they force homosexuality and transgenderism on our youngest children. Did you know that 41% of transgenders attempt suicide? 41%. Man, it's tough enough to be a teenager nowadays without having that garbage force-fed to you. America's children deserve better, and we should be the people giving them better. Children should be protected from sexual perversion, not spoon-fed it. Leave the children alone. A lawsuit was recently filed because over 12,000 Boy Scouts have been abused by homosexuals in the Boy Scouts. Don't say we didn't warn you. Those boys deserve better. And as long as conservatives are too afraid to stand up to the militant homosexuals, things are going to get worse. We should be publicly shaming the Democrats for facilitating the rape of American boys. Now, the Democrats claim to be champions of women's rights, and their feminist platoons have been viciously attacking American men for decades. What's their latest nonsense? They're complaining about toxic masculinity. Well, if masculinity was toxic, then kids who grow up without a dad would be better off. But statistics show us just the opposite. Women's rights. The left have been howling about that for years, and the Democrats get a lot of votes by declaring themselves to be champions of women's rights. And yet we hear nothing from them about the tens of thousands of young women who are being raped all over Europe by Islamic rape gangs. The Quran gives them permission to attack and rape any non-Muslim woman. And the Democrats are feverishly flooding this nation with Muslims, often unvetted from barbaric nations. Even though the Democrats know that the Quran commands a man to beat his wife and even kill her if she dishonors the family. Islamic honor killings are coming to America, and someone needs to expose the violence against women and children and to stand strong against it. It's obvious the Democrats won't. In fact, the Democrats' enthusiastic embracing of Islam makes them guilty of supporting violence against women. Why are we not making that a public campaign? As an American lawman, I fought for 20 years to end wife beating in America. And today I see the Democrats bringing it into this country by the truckload under the guise of religion. We should be shaming the Democrats for their blind support of wife beating and honor killing. And we should be shaming the Democrats for their blind support of slavery. American Democrats are on the warpath to condemn Americans for slavery. And the new Democrat Congress are even proposing forcing white Americans to pay reparations for slavery. Man, that's a shakedown that even Jesse Jackson would be proud of. Slavery. White Americans fought a major war to end slavery back in 1863. The Republicans of the North fought to free the slaves from the Democrats of the South, and the Democrats have been mad about it ever since. Well, today the Democrat Party still supports slavery. Islamic nations are still practicing old-fashioned slavery, buying and selling black people in chains. But we don't see a single news report on that, and the Democrats never talk about it. If they were truly concerned about slavery, they would be on the warpath against Islamic slave markets. We should be shaming the Democrats for their support of Islamic slavery. So why are we not shaming the Democrats for all this stuff that they do? I'll tell you why. It's because conservatives are scared to death of being accused of two words: homophobia and Islamophobia. Those two words have been effectively silencing conservatives on some of the most important topics of our time. Children are being abused and committing suicide in record numbers. Women are being beaten and raped. Blacks are being sold in slave markets. And we are too afraid to speak up for fear that we will be called homophobic or Islamophobic. Well, here's a wild bill bullet of truth for America. Neither of those words are real. They are both political terms that were invented to shut down honest discussion of deviancy and violence in America. The left say that anyone who opposes their extreme agendas are mentally ill. That's right. The men who whack off their peepees and prance around in high heels and lipstick are saying that we are mentally ill. And it's working. Most of the conservatives in the USA are too intimidated to speak out on those particular issues, and that needs to end. The Christian conservatives need to stop being intimidated, and we need to come out swinging against the Democrats and their nationwide campaign of sexual exploitation of American children, their support for Islamic wife-beating, and their support for the Islamic slave trade. We should be blasting those issues all across America. We are the defenders of America's women and children. And we should also be defending manhood and fatherhood in America. We should have billboards on private property boldly exposing the sins of the Democrat Party. Not only would it scare the daylights out of the left, it would also be a lot of fun. That's something that we as conservatives need to do more of. Our side needs to have more fun. I've traveled this country and I've spoken to I don't know how many groups from Florida to California, and I see a lot of conservatives who are discouraged and beat down and depressed. There are two main reasons I see for the discouragement. Number one is gorging themselves on bad news. Man, there's enough bad things that the left are doing that you will never get to the end of it. And the other one is they really don't get out there and take action to make a difference. That's Dr. Wild Bill's prescription for antidepressant for conservatives. Stop taking in every bit of bad news you can and get active. Find a job and do it. Which brings me to another point. I'm almost done. The left have painted us as angry people who hate the government. Well, we do deal with some irritating issues, but we definitely don't want to be known as angry people. We need millions more Americans to join the conservative movement, and Americans are not attracted to angry people. And that's why we can't stay behind closed doors. The next time you have a Trump Club meeting, why not do it at the food court at the mall? We're not saying anything here that they can't hear. We want them to hear our message. And if you do that, I will come back up for the next Trump meeting. We will all wear MAGA hats, we will all buy food, and we will enjoy the daylights out of Trump Club fellowship. If everything goes smoothly, excellent. If some fools challenge us, excellent. It will go viral on the internet, excellent. And we will show ourselves as being professional representatives of truth, justice, and the American way. And if mall management has a problem, excellent. That too would go viral on the internet, and they would probably lose some business for their anti-American ways. Whichever way it goes, we win. And that's the way it should be. History favors the bold, but nobody remembers the timid. Thank you so much for inviting me to come speak.